Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julie Livingston, and I'm here for another edition of Quorum Live. This is a series produced by the Quorum Initiative, an organization of female leaders in the UK and in the United States, where we look to create change in the workplace, create opportunities for women to advance, attract venture capital to women-owned and led businesses, and increase the visibility and representation of women on corporate boards. I am so delighted today to have Carlinde Kallianiotis she is the co-founder and CEO of Ginger US and Ginger Leadership Communications. Carlinde is also a Quorum Initiative member. She is a visionary leader, change maker, and coach. With experience in senior leadership and executive roles, she believes that leaders are in a unique position to drive positive change within their organizations and beyond. Her focus is on helping leaders activate their unique strengths, increase their presence. That's going to be our topic today, and impact, and promote human-centric, courageous communication, another topic for today, Carlinde, and storytelling within the business world. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Julie. It's wonderful to be here.
Our topic today is empowering women's voices in the workplace. And this is something that I think a lot of Quorum members experience often. They're challenged when it comes to raising their voices and increasing their executive visibility within their organizations and even on digital media. They may lack self-awareness, they may lack self-confidence, or the wherewithal, the skills to really put themselves out there. And it could feel incredibly overwhelming. I know that, when colleagues and friends of mine see me doing these LinkedIn live show, they say, "Oh my God, I don't know how you do that." There are different platforms and presentation styles that may not be for every individual. But I think that the main point here is, why aren't women raising their voices enough?
Fantastic question. And I would say you're a natural, Julie, here
Thank you.
with Quorum Live. So I would say you can divide it in two aspects. I think we are socialized, as women, we're socialized to, that we, as kids, that we are nice. Like even looking at some reports, like KPMG, for example, women in that identify that they are socialized to be nice, 86%. To be a good student, another 86%. And to be helpful, 77%.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with those characteristics, but
for sure. And then you look at leaders, like that they're taught to be leaders or express their opinions, that number is suddenly south of 50%, 44% and 34%. And I can see that even with my daughter, who is a 13-year-old. She hears all the time, she's too assertive, she has too many opinions. There's always this word "too" in front, where I'm like, no, this is fantastic. She has an idea, she has a strong mind, she knows what she wants, and she expresses it. But we're taught and socialized not to do that, not to share.
So, okay, as I said, it can be overwhelming for some people for whom this does not come naturally. We all have different conditioning. We all come from different backgrounds. Are there any micro steps that women can take to start little by little raising their visibility in their organization and increasing their credibility so that they are then thought of when opportunities for advancement and exposure come?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. And of course, on one hand, it has to do with the social influence. And we want to drive that change, right? That society starts changing and that women are asked to do less of the invisible work, like the office household of like taking notes and ordering coffee and cleaning up the meeting space. So this is kind of on the social level. We'd like that to be changed. But on an individual level, that is what really where change starts is, and you mentioned it earlier, is to become aware of these habits and of these tendencies and thoughts that hold us back from speaking up, right?
But is it also more than that, Carlinde? Is it what does it have to do with the relationships that you built throughout the organization?
So when we have strong relationships and we get comfortable sharing our opinions, it becomes easier. I always say for women, what is really useful and maybe a micro step that you mentioned is to start thinking about your why, about caring for your purpose, thinking about what do you really care about and why should you speak up? Why is it important for you to speak up? And you will see that when you start thinking about that, that your own fear becomes less. I have a good example where I was working with a female senior leader in pharma, and she's a scientist, and she was part of a trial. And she produced the trial, and she was asking for more money. But the senior leadership decided that they weren't going to put more money into it because the drug would not be very profitable, because it would mostly be for poor communities. And because her purpose is to help and heal others, she spoke up because she was clear that there was something more at stake than her
Ah,
own fear. So her fear was here, but then her purpose was here, and it became more important.
wow.
So,
So that kind of pushed her into the risk zone, right? To get her to kind of take that step.
and you can see that for yourself. If you think about the purpose, why would I speak up? And that can be something very tangible, like curing a disease, right? Or helping others. But it can also be something for women to think about: if I don't speak up, then who will? If I speak up, maybe I will be a trailblazer and can help other people and create the space for other people to speak up.
That's great. I wonder what you think about also looking at other women in the organization where you work to see how they have risen up the ranks. Like what have they done? Are there things, I mean, you may not like everything they've done, but is that valuable?
I would I would certainly say that's very valuable. And unfortunately, we have a lot of examples are male of senior leaders, and we have this idea that we need to become like them to get into these senior positions. So actually looking at senior female leaders who have held their authentic ways of doing things, their maybe more compassionate style of leadership, or their unique quirks, that they haven't gotten into this mindset of I need to be hard and direct and it needs to be all about money, but really looking at other characteristics of leaders that inspire you. I would always say, doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, look at examples and characteristics that inspire you to become like them, and start seeing what they are doing and asking for sponsorship from them.
Ah, talk about what sponsorship is.
Yeah, I think when I speak to women, it's very often confused with, oh, but I'm getting coaching. Oh, I'm getting mentorship. But these are all still ways to develop ourselves. Sponsorship is opening doors, right?
It's like a
Sponsorship.
ladder. It's like you're starting the laddering up process by identifying somebody who can help you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like someone else is helping to open the door for you, where you then can step in to growth and development and further promotion, etc.
So what does a sponsor do actually? I mean, and how do you find one? I mean, do you just ask some send somebody an email and say, "Would you sponsor me?" I mean, what's the best way to go about it?
I'm not sure if I'm the best one to answer, because I think there's quite a few experts, but I think courage is a good one. If you see an example that you're inspired by, then have the courage to ask, right? Don't hold back. And it always is the opportunity for them to say yes or no. But if we don't ask, we don't get. And I would say that's a second principle or micro step that I always encourage people to take is get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? We have very strong habits, we have very strong thoughts, and day to day drive our behavior. If we decide that we want to change it and we want to empower female voices and we want to climb the ladder and we want to be more visible, we need to get into this uncomfortable space about doing the things we don't know yet. And why is
And
it uncomfortable? Is because
yeah.
it's something we haven't done before. So we need to very intentionally create these habits.
Now, quorum members are women. Um, does the sponsor have to be a female or a male? Does it matter?
I would say who inspires you. Yeah. And you want, of course, them to have the best for you, right? And to actually that they're willing to open doors. Um, so
Right.
yeah, I think
Right. So
that's
the sponsor is somebody who's going to, like, when they hear about an opportunity, like maybe it's a stretch project where you can really branch out and kind of stretch your skill set, or it's an advancement opportunity. They're the ones who are going to think of you first and put your name out there. And
exactly.
right. And it's because of their endorsement that it will help you climb.
Yeah, really, really supporting and championing each other. And I want to say that at Quorum, it's really, really impressive that it's not just a really quality group of people because of the seniority or the experiences, but because there is this human warmth and willingness to lift other people up, this championing, right? This
Uh,
sponsoring of others, which is so heartwarming and so important.
I mean, it's the best feeling in the world whenever, I've helped um women rise up. It just there really is nothing like that. It's really the magic of being a leader, I think.
Yeah, really, very, 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 very true. And actually, Diane, and myself, we were at a showcase event from one of our Game Changer programs in London last year. And there on stage, we had women speak for 10 minutes about the topic that they were really passionate about. And they had worked on for 6 months on, creating that speech and that delivery. And then during the talk for about 300 female senior leaders, one of the speakers came on stage and blanked.
Oh
Her
no.
biggest nightmare became truth. But then she left the stage. We in the audience were all like nervous about this situation. And a minute later, she came back and she said, "Can I have a second chance?" And I
Ah,
have never seen a room beaming of pride, proud, championing, really, really, really supporting. And what I learned from that is we as women think we need to be perfect, right? We have this idea of always comparing ourselves against the better ideal situation or against something more perfect than we are. And there it showed that actually just bring yourself, just accept us not being perfect.
yeah,
Make
and
it
look,
a lot easier.
she's human just like everyone else there. And
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, I actually think that leaders who show some of their vulnerability are more effective because their teams can then relate to them. They're not just a figurehead. They're actually people who experience frustration and anger and, you know, come up
Humans
against all
trust,
kinds of challenges.
yeah, and humans trust humans. And I think as senior leaders and as examples, to start making fun of ourselves a little more helps other people relax as well, right? Like,
That's
for example, in the family, I think I'm the funniest one, that I have a really good sense of humor, but I'm the only one that think that way, right? It's kind of this, if you show your vulnerability, then other people can also relax and be themselves.
yeah, yeah. Humor is I've seen you write a lot about humor. How might that be able to how would that help you to cultivate the right kinds of relationships in organizations?
I think for one thing, it really and humor and maybe vulnerability are close together somehow,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like it somehow breaks through this idea that we need to have up a shield and that we need to know everything and have this kind of mumbo jumbo way of speaking in a professional corporate setting. And humor can just kind of, I would say, like pick the balloon and right, and help
Absolutely.
people relax. A
Yeah.
smile is so so useful to relax.
I'd like to add that I don't know, I've gotten inspired by following female leaders who I admire on social media and including LinkedIn. I try to follow their storytelling and the risks that they've taken, um, the achievements they've had, maybe some of the challenges. And that has really sometimes I'll write little notes down, after I read an inspiring post, and it sticks in my head. And so the next time I'm faced with a similar challenge, I will sometimes hark back to that and push myself forward in that direction, even though it's scary.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this is for myself in my role as the CEO of Ginger Leadership Communications in the US. I also have a board of advisors, right? And people that I can go to and ask questions. And I love that that's a very diverse group of people, because you get different answers from one compared to the other. They all bring their perspectives, and you can learn so much from listening, reading, really exploring how other people think and how other people have approached a similar challenge. I love that too. Like, you can really learn a lot from other people.
So when you say you have a personal board of directors, Carlinda, what does that mean? I mean, it sounds funny to ask, but is this like do you have like a formal meeting of your personal board of directors, or is this more of a, um, you kind of think of certain individuals in that way? How does it work? Because people
Yeah.
have asked me, I mean, I don't have a board. Like, how do I create a personal board? I don't know how to do that. And what's the value?
Yeah, sometimes when we say board of directors, it sounds very formal, right? And it maybe even stops you, because then you need
Yeah.
to think about paperwork and legal documents. For me, it's honestly just as exactly what you were sharing, seeing some people that really inspire you, that maybe do a similar line of work, or that have some characteristics that you admire, or expertise that they can bring. And I just ask them, hey, Julie, do you want to be one of my advisors? It's really useful for me to just have conversations once a while, and pick your brain and
Yeah.
learn from your experience. And, over the last 5 years, they have changed, right? There's a few of them, they're still the same people, and some of them have changed. And yeah, depending on also the dynamics and what's necessary and the questions I have.
So, Carlinda, you talked before about the importance of starting with your why, to help kind of move you forward, um, to being more visible in your organization. Are there other micro steps that women can take to help them think about their visibility differently?
So maybe one thing, and it's quite connected maybe to the why, but is to think about serving others, doing things for others. And what
Oh,
happens when we need to speak up, we become some of us get nervous. We have the fight, the flight, the freeze response, right? Where physically we don't know
yeah.
what to say, or we start baffling and speaking very fast, or we all know, the sweaty hands, etc. What we happen when we start thinking about others is we simply take away the focus and the attention on ourselves, and whatever we focus on will grow, right? Like, if you look at a kid and you take away their toy, they start crying. And what is the easiest way to get them to stop crying is to jingle some keys in front of them, and they're distracted. And the same is true for ourselves. When we notice that we become nervous, or that we have this little devil on our shoulder saying, you're not good enough, you shouldn't speak up, you're not the expert, that you think about other people. How am I going to benefit the audience? What is the impact my message is going to make? Who is here in the audience? Wow, beautiful people. Or, hey, so many experts. And take away the focus from ourselves will help us actually get away from all these negative self-talk and these nerves that hold us back.
What about social media? Is that kind of an entry point for female leaders to kind of start showing themselves?
I think so. Yeah, and it's really fun to see now that the younger generation is so comfortable. They're constantly taking videos of themselves. That's all they do. Um, I think it's very often a very big step for women to get out there, because we have this idea of tiara syndrome. Someone else is going to discover us, that we are perfect, that we have all these values, and they will give us a crown, and the Prince Charming will marry us, right? This idea that someone else is going to find us. So for us to raise our hand and actually say, hey, I'm bringing value here and here, is not something that comes so natural. That feels like boosting. So with social media, we get a chance to practice, to just go out there, talk
Yeah.
about what we have to offer, talk about our value, talk about, things that we can do for others, value that we add, and get more comfortable with it. Because the more we do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, starting on LinkedIn is a good place to begin. And you can even start by sharing an article that you saw um that talks about leadership in some new way, and then comment on it. That's kind of a benign way to start putting yourself out there and seeing, inch up, start with one post a week, then you could, go to 2 or 3. And I think it might help to strengthen your voice.
Yeah, and I think the things that you're doing too with your Quorum Live, it's really helping, right? Helping get our voices out there, helping to also recognize that that there's so many experts and fantastic, inspiring women out there. So to bring them closer to on social media is just really strong and powerful.
Carlinda, this has been such a great conversation. I'm thinking about my why now. Why is it important that I do whatever? I'm really glad you said that. And I want to tell everyone watching that Carlinda is going to be speaking at the upcoming How Women Lead Change Forum, a live event here in New York City. It's on Friday, November 3rd. There's a welcome dinner the night prior on November 2nd. And you can find more information at thequoruminitiative.com. But I hope I'll see you there. The How Forum is an amazing event to really form deeper connections and friendships with your female peers who are from a variety of industries, but they're all looking for advancement opportunities. We're going to be talking about how to get a board role. I get asked that all the time. How do I get a corporate board role? So we're going to explain that too, and a lot of other subjects. So go to thequoruminitiative.com for more information on the How Forum. And Carlinda, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person there.
It's very, very much the
Okay.
same, Julie. Thank you very much.
Okay.